Welcome to the Seth Joyner Show, and boy, do I have a show for you today. No dialogue, no monologue. We're just going to get straight to it. First off, we're going to bring in Mr. Ron Jaworski, my teammate from 1986. Coming up next, Mr. Randall Cunningham, also my teammate from 1986. Coming up next, Super 5. Mr. Donovan McNabb, first round pick, second overall pick. What year was that? I believe it is 1999.
Yeah,
and then Mr. Number 1 overall. He had the shortest stint of all the guys here, Mr. Michael Vick, Super 7. Hey, listen, man, I know Philly is thrilled to death to have you guys. Listen, and I got a rundown sheet of how this show is supposed to go. But we're just gonna let it flow naturally, because I don't think this has ever been done before. That 4 iconic quarterbacks from the Philadelphia Eagles franchise, all on one show, talking football, past, present, and future. I'm gonna give you the floor for a couple of minutes, Jaws, and then we just gonna go by beauty or age, however you want to see it. And I'll just pass it off to each one of you guys, and we'll just get into it and let it flow how it flows.
Hey, Seth, first of all, great to be on your show once again. And this is absolutely awesome. You know, I love these guys, man. Randall's little puppy when he came into the Eagles, I had to train him. It's like,
that's right.
You know, Donovan obviously smashed all my records. Michael created all that excitement. And
smashed my records.
Through the years, we've never all been together. You know, I've done shows with Randall, done shows with Donovan, done shows with Michael and Donovan, played golf with the guys different times, but never together. So what a great job of getting us together. Like I said, hey, once everyone gets something to say, just roll the ball out on the court and we'll let it go.
And, you know, I had to do this, you know, as a linebacker, as a defensive player. Who would ever thought that you get 4 quarterbacks on one show, on a defensive guy's show, no less? So I'm gonna pass it over to my man Cash over here, and I'm gonna give you a minute to say what you want to say. But man, listen, it's always good to not only be with all of you guys, but I played the longest with this guy and saw, you know, all the miracles that he did on the field. Cash, what you got?
Well, I'm humbled. You know, this is Jaws said it's awesome. There's no cliche to follow that up with. I'm humbled just to be able to, you know, I got to kick it with Mike on the line the other day. We did for the draft. It was pretty awesome. But to be able to be back again, you know, this is something that you can't count on this, because we'll probably miss each other if we call each other on the phone, or if we're in town, we'll probably somebody be flying out of town, can't golf together. But you know, Seth, I'm grateful that you brought this together, because with the hustle and bustle of our day and everything that we do in our different areas, it's just really cool to see Mike driving down the road. I'm sure you got a driver, Mike. It doesn't look like you had a steering wheel in your hand. and with Donovan, with your character, you're just such a happy brother, man, and an old Jaws, man. My mentor. It's really, man, this is like really awesome. And I think through this whole pandemic, it's just a pleasure to be able to talk to one another. And Seth, we haven't talked to each other in, I don't know, what, 15 years. And finally, here we are, Christians, brothers in the Lord. And it's just so good to see where we've come from. You know, from my days of ignorance back in the day to now just really trying to shepherd a flock of people. It's a blessing to be on this call with you guys.
No doubt about it. And, you know, like I said, when we spoke the other day, you know, we were all young and dumb at some point in our 20s doing crazy stuff.
Now we're old and dumb.
Absolutely.
Some of us.
Can't remember things, everything.
How about Michael's going to be 40 next month? Happy birthday, Michael.
He's just a baby. He's still wet behind the ear.
Oh, man.
This next guy, so when I called him and said, hey, you know, this is what I want to do, I had to tell him, dude, save some of this for the show, man. I mean, he had me on the phone for like an hour just talking. What do you think about this? And I'm like, okay, Donovan, pump your brakes. The show's coming up next week. you're going to get the floor, and I know what's going to happen. Ain't nobody on this show going to talk more than Donovan today. What you got for it?
At all.
Hey, see, both all y'all need to stop, man. But you know what? I will say this: the honor of being a part of a fraternity in which I would say Jaws kind of got things going for us in the Philadelphia area, and we were able to carry the torch with Randall, myself, and then Mike. This is an honor because now not only do people get a chance to get a perspective from each era in which we've played, but it's from the quarterback position. And the knowledge of the game is so key and so vital for the success of the players today that we're passing along to the youth. So the importance of us being here goes way beyond us just talking Philadelphia Eagles. This is something special that no one has ever done before, and I thank you, Seth, for doing this. But I haven't seen Mike in a while. I haven't seen Randall. Jaws I see pretty much every time I get back to Philly. If not him, then definitely his daughter. But the relationship that we have, it doesn't matter if we've seen each other last week, 2 weeks ago, or even a couple years. It seems like every time we see each other and talk, it seems like we haven't missed a beat.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, that's when you know that the relationships are genuine. When you have situations like where you don't see each other for a while, and all of a sudden you come back together, and it's like boom, there you go. You just pick it up just like you hadn't even, like you saw each other just the other day. I was just about to introduce Mike, but he dropped off. He's in the car. I think we're gonna have to wait for him to come back.
He probably saw some driving range along the way and pulled over to get a lesson.
Yeah, Mike called a timeout. Yeah, he called a timeout to get some water.
There he is. There he is. I'm waiting for my director to patch him back in. I can see him. There he is. So now the last guy, in my opinion, kind of took what RC was doing and what Donovan was doing to a certain extent, and really took it to a completely different level. And the thing I'm most proud of, when I talk about this guy, is how he was able to resurrect his career, and put the train back on the tracks, and really resurrect, his career from from a bad situation. I've had an opportunity to spend some time with him, had an opportunity to play with him. Left-hander, my gosh, can he move the golf ball? All you guys can move the golf ball. But Michael Vick, you got the floor, my man. What you got to say to Philly?
Oh, man, first of all, Seth, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's an honor, especially to be with these three greats, man, guys that, I walked in their footsteps and got to give a lot of credit to all three of those guys for, validating for me to come to the city of Philadelphia, especially Donovan. I know I got a chance to spend time with Randall, who I grew up idolizing, and Jaws, who was just there for me from day one. But Donovan really put his stamp on everything and really made me comfortable when I got to the city of Philadelphia. And I was able to watch him in work in a totally different arena, a different way of going about playing the game that I'd never seen before. Had an amazing work ethic, and I just tried to bite off as much as I could chew. And watching him, and he really taught me how to be a professional. In the latter years of my career, if I would have had a mentor like that earlier, who knows what would have happened. But just coming to that city, coming to that team, really changed me, changed my outlook on life, changed me as a person, as an individual, and I got to give those three guys credit for that. Jaws, I was always at his golf tournaments, always smiling, always having a good time, always welcoming me in and bringing me in, and just making me feel like I was at home. And Randall always giving me words of encouragement whenever I was struggling, in 2011 and 12. And then Don was just always there for me, man. So it was just a crazy Philly vibe, man. I'm glad I had a chance to experience it. I wasn't, what you guys were as far as, the tenure and the time and just the legacies y'all left. I only got a snippet of it, a small fraction, but I enjoyed it being there.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, before we get into some more football stuff, there's a lot going on, around the Eagles with the Rooney Rule. I want to get each and every one of you guys' opinion. But as I did some research on you guys, I pulled up some interesting things that most fans don't know. Okay, so I venture to say that some of you guys don't even know these things about the each other. So I'm going to start with Jaws. I bet you guys didn't know, and most people in Philadelphia did not know, that Jaws turned down an offer to play baseball with the St. Louis Cardinals.
As a pitcher
at Youngstown State.
I mean, I was 17 years old, coming out of high school, the chance to play pro baseball. You damn right I wanted to sign a contract. So you know what? One of the few times I listened to my mom and dad, they said, "You're going to college." So that worked out pretty good.
Awesome. So then, talking about RC, and you know, guys, the crazy thing about RC is my freshman year at the University of Texas at El Paso, we went out to UNLV and played against Randall. And I'm watching this little skinny dude running all over the place. I'm like, will somebody please tackle him? You know, I wasn't playing at that time, but I'm like, please tackle this guy. And then to make matters worse, they put him in as the punter.
That's right.
I'm like, well, somebody go break his leg then while he back there punting.
Yeah.
So, what you don't know about Randall is that Randall was an All-American punter. You know, some of you guys may know that. The other thing is that I found intriguing is that he retired in 1997 and then came back in 1998 and had probably his most historic, his best year with the Minnesota Vikings. Randall,
right.
In that year, and just in that year of retirement, talk to me about what transpired in that year of retirement where you walked away from the game and then came back the next year.
It was all humility. You know, I had gone through a lot in Philly. Philly really helped me to become a man. And I was trying to figure out life, having a little boy. My son, Randall II, he's 24 years old today. He works here at the church with us now. He's a high jumper, getting ready for the Olympics. But that year really allowed me a year to figure out what I wanted in life, who I was, how I was supposed to be a dad and a husband, and just really looking at life as a businessman and getting away from football that year after Philadelphia was awesome. And then to come back and then to be able to play in Minnesota, it was just with Denny Green and be back with Chris Carter, who was at Philly. We were all together. It was awesome to be in an atmosphere where it was a Christian atmosphere, but at the same time there was a strong support system from the city, just like Philadelphia, and great ownership, and had a lot of fun. But that year off, I really had to grow up and become a man.
Awesome. Now moving on to Donovan, I bet you guys don't know that Donovan suited up for the Orangemen. He played for Jim Boeheim in 95 and 96 and 96 and 97. But I bet y'all don't know he only averaged 1 point a game in 95. And then 96, 97, he only averaged 2.8 points per game.
Hey, that's an improvement.
What I wanted to do, Don, is I wanted to let you brag on yourself for a minute and then hit you with that, but I figured I'd just throw it out there so everybody could get a chuckle.
I will say this, son. I mean, that was an incredible experience, and I think for these kids nowadays, and the message to send through that is playing multiple sports help you in each and every sport. Hand-eye coordination, lateral quickness, explosiveness, and then at the end of it all is creating what we call label now as a Mamba mentality. These kids do not understand. We just watched The Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls. The mindset of Michael Jordan and the way you approach things individually brings teams together. And I was able to learn different things in different sports that I played, and playing college basketball helped me for football in certain situations if we miss a block or we get hit with blitz, whatever it may be, by being able to react and make a play still with my legs due to feeling the pressure from whatever side. So there's no need to brag about it. Although I was a part of the runner-up in the national championship game against Kentucky in '96, but I was on the bench, so I was still there. But all in all, it was a fun experience at Syracuse. It helped me and propelled my career in Philadelphia, and I don't regret anything that happened in college or in the NFL.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's just stuff that I didn't know. Now, moving on to this next guy, in 2000, Michael Vick was drafted by the Colorado Rockies. And the crazy thing is, he hadn't played baseball since he was in the 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, that's because I quit.
I mean, but
I got hit with a fastball.
You couldn't hit the fastball, huh? But I'm telling you, I mean, that within itself is just, phenomenal when you think about, some of the experiences, some of the things that you guys accomplished. But I mean, when the team drafts you,
yeah.
And you haven't played since you're in the 8th grade and you're in college at that time, that is like that's a phenomenal thing. Even though, no matter how late it was, that just speaks to the athleticism that, that the Colorado Rockies saw in you and the potential.
Yeah, and I was very tempted to take that $25,000 deal before I go spring training. I'm looking at my mom like, Mom, I need that money. Like, I don't have anything right now. It would come in handy, but sitting on the couch one summer and your name go across the screen that you've been drafted in the 30th round in baseball, you started thinking all types of things. Not just about the opportunity, but people are really paying attention to your talents. And even though I had some baseball hands, it wasn't for me. It wasn't in my foreseeable future. I was a quarterback at heart. I was just starting to understand the game and learn the game as a freshman, and I just wanted to build on that. But what an experience! What an opportunity. The Colorado Rockies, their general manager came down, and the batting coaches, and it was a cool experience, and it's something that I could tell my kids about, and something that we can still talk about.
Awesome. Now let's spin this thing over to some NFL news and some Eagles news. Today, the owners voted on some adjustments and changes to the Rooney Rule. Actually, they were approved today. Two of the things that struck me was, the head coaches. Each team has to allot 2 minorities to be interviewed for head coaching positions. At least one minority for each OC or DC position. One external interview for minorities for GM and senior football, operations. Teams and league offices have to also include at least one minority or female for senior level and club president position. And also, the coordinator moves, no longer you can't block, assistant coaches from being able to move. The one thing that they shelved that was really controversial was the draft pick incentive portion of it. That meant that pretty much they did not, they didn't get the votes for it. That's the one thing that I didn't like. The other thing is they've created, a minority fellowship program, at least 2 full-time interns, 1 to 2 years. That for legends, minorities, and females. Then you have, the intent there is to broaden the base, for future opportunities. Couple of statistics before I throw it out to Jaws, Randall, Donovan, and then to Michael. The last 20 head coaching jobs, only 3 minorities have gotten those jobs. And right now, out of 32 head coaches in the NFL, only 4 of them are African American. I like your guys' opinion, how you guys see it. Keep it raw, keep it real. What do you think about the Rooney Rule? What do you think about these changes to the Rooney Rule? Ron Jaworski.
Yeah, Seth, I think when you look at the Rooney Rule, it's been around a while now. I think it's an excellent rule. And clearly when you look at opportunity, that's what it's about. And it was mandated that, African Americans, whatever, minorities, get the opportunity to interview. and the best person should get the job. I mean, it's always that simple. I don't care who you are, what you are, race, creed, color. The best person should get the job. But at least force the hand of NFL owners to bring people in and interview people and learn more about those people. So I think that was the real positive about it. And hopefully, more minorities will get hired. As everyone on this show knows, what is the population of the NFL? About 70-75% African American now. That number is very high. Why shouldn't there be more coaches? So I think the rule is good, and I think the expansion of the rule is good.
Right. RC, what are your thoughts?
I haven't really been up on it as much, but I think when you think about the historical coaches that have been there, whether it was Art Shell, Denny Green, there's been so many great coaches that have done great jobs. And it should be the playing level should be equal for everyone, whether it's Ron down there. I think he was at North Carolina or Carolina Panthers. Just got another head coaching job. I think he's Hispanic. Brother Rivera. Yeah, awesome brother. Came out of college with him. I think that it needs to get to the point where everybody has an opportunity. And I see where they're adding the women in there as well. I see the women on the field being referees and things like that. It's pretty amazing that people have an equal opportunity.
Michael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My audio cut out. I couldn't hear what John said. I caught a little bit of what Randall said, but and up on it. And I just read recently that they was trying to, implement, where it could be more minority owners and minority coaches and general managers. And when I think about this, I just think about the opportunity that it creates for, in the young kids' mind who aspire to be, whatever they want, a general manager or, a head coach in the National Football League. They don't have to look at it and say, okay, there's not enough of us, from a minority standpoint. They can say, okay, I have the confidence to continue to push to make this happen for me in my life. And that's trying to live out a dream. Even if something else comes out of it, you still find some form of success, in the journey traveled. And I just love the fact that there's just opportunity to give kids a reason to dream. And, I remember growing up, and it was not a lot of, minority quarterbacks in the National Football League. And, until the 1999 draft when Donovan went and Dante Culpepper and Achilles Smith, I started to feel like I had something. There was something there for me, and I could continue to push to be, a quarterback and play as a black quarterback in the National Football League, just as an example. And that just gave me so much hope. I think this gives people hope. I think it gives kids hope, and equal playing field, equal opportunity. That's what it's all boiling down to, and it's being created by people who seeing that change is always good, and the change needs to be made.
So I know that, this last guy, I know he had a lot to say, so that's why I say so the floor is yours, Donovan McNabb.
Well, I mean, I appreciate all you guys' input, and Seth knows I shoot from the hip. I'm just going to be honest with you and say that I think it's pretty much garbage. I think it's garbage in a sense because the Rooney Rule was set for African Americans and minorities to have the opportunity to interview for jobs that were head coaching jobs, GMs, whatever it may be, and have an opportunity to possibly be an owner. The reason that we had the Rooney Rule was to give that opportunity to all those minorities. Well, we know for a fact, and as former players and also people who watch the game, that a lot of teams have not abided by that rule. So how can you create another rule for the mistake that we made for not abiding by the first rule, meaning that the Rooney Rule was set for that? So now you come up with different issues because it's become a problem, and then you try to throw an incentive base on it if you hire a certain amount of minorities of receiving a third-round pick in the draft. What kind of incentives are we getting for hiring black people? Like that to me is ignorance, if you ask me. I mean, because how are you looking at a sense in the organization when a guy has come in and he's proven he can be a strong and effective coordinator in this game? He should have an opportunity to fulfill his dream of becoming a head coach. For example, Eric Bieniemy has shown he can run the offense with Patrick Mahomes out in Kansas City. He goes to Cleveland for an interview, and then before you know it, he's not asked back, let alone they hired Kevin Stefanski to be the head coach, who's a lot younger than Eric Bieniemy. So now the young wave has happened over the last 4 years of trying to find that young 30, 32-year-old guru instead of passing over guys who have been established in this league as position coaches, head coaches, and should have the opportunity to become the main guy. And so I look at this whole way of me now saying, you're trying to come up with a solution for the problem that we had with the first Rooney Rule, but you still don't know the problem of why you're doing this. So you can't come up with a solution if you don't understand and now hash out the reason for it. So I just think it's unfair to a lot of these African American coaches out here on the college ranks and in the NFL, because at the end of it all, we can talk about interviews and who gets brought in. It's the good old boy system that they have to vote on it. So 31, 32 teams of the owners have to vote on if they're going to allow the African Americans to come in and be owners, to be GMs, and to be head coaches. This isn't just one person or three people in the room talking about, yeah, we're going to hire them. They got to go through the league with this whole deal. So I'm waiting to see the development of how this is going to progress, meaning in the next 3 years, because we still haven't answered the Rooney Rule. And the last statement I want to say is the only reason that this has come to fruition is because Matt LaFleur hired an African-American person to come in to be the minority position or something. But he played with him in college. So that's a buddy system of a guy bringing him in because he was his receiver in college. This isn't a guy that's been in the league and been through the process and been hired as a coach, not a minority position, but a coach. This is the whole big picture that I look at.
So I feel your pain, Donovan, and I hear where everybody else is coming from. My perspective on this is that, the acknowledgement that there's an issue, okay, is the first step. I agree, that it really comes down to, ownership. And I read a quote somewhere today where I think it's Shannon Sharp on social media said, it's kind of hard to tell a guy who pays, $1 billion, $2 billion for a franchise, what to do as far as running his organization. But, Jaws makes a good point too. When you've got 70 to 75% of the players that in the NFL that are African-American players, it's just astounding to me that you don't see the natural progression as far as, coaches, and people in executive position as far as the NFL is concerned. That's troubling historically to me. So the question is, how do you rectify it? How do you fix it? But sometimes
here's what has to happen. When these coaches get these opportunities,
say we have to watch it
we know what this business is about.
Just monitor
winning
and see what happens. Like I'll be watching closely to see who's hired, who's fired, and what minorities are stepping in to take over jobs. Like you said, you got to back up what you say, and who knows? One of us may want to become a general manager one day. We know talent. We know how to, run offenses. We know what talent's supposed to look like. We want to have that ample opportunity, and I just hope that this rule is put in place can take some serious effect. And like I said, I'll be watching it very closely as well as everybody else I know.
Go ahead, Charles.
Seth, I was going to when these coaches get the opportunity, other coach, you have to win. The Jim Caldwells, the Lovie Smiths. If they win, that to me that gives more opportunity, more opportunity for longevity of African American coaches. So Brian Flores, and Anthony, Mike Tomlin has won. He's had great success in Pittsburgh. Ron Rivera has to win. So when those coaches win, that adds more credence to hiring more African American coaches. So that, to me, that's the pressure to be successful. Chris Beer has to be successful in the front office in Miami. Anthony Berry, who's now in Cleveland, he has to be successful. So once you're successful, then more people say, hey, Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Let's give them more opportunity. So that's kind of how I see it, perceive it. Other players, as players, these coaches and front office, they have to perform as well.
Well, I will say this in closing. I know Donovan wants to chime back in, but I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on because we got some legal stuff we need to talk about. The thing that I like to see happen better, in my opinion, what happens with a lot of African American head coaches, they get jobs that, in my opinion, that they are almost set up to fail at. When you take over an organization that doesn't have a franchise quarterback, when you take over an organization, that doesn't have good players, when you take over an organization as a head coach whose salary cap is pretty much in salary cap purgatory, that head coach is almost set up to lose. Because first of all, he's only going to get 2 or 3 years to turn it around. The other thing is, when you're in salary cap purgatory, that means that team has, 2 or 3 times over had made head coaching changes, with giving those previous head coaches only 2 or 3 years. So those coaches come in and they sign guys to big deals, and then the next coach comes in, he doesn't like that guy, so now that guy gets cut. Now they're carrying salary cap money that they can't use to improve the team, and that happens 2 or 3 times over. Now that head coach has got 2 or 3 years to turn it around. If he doesn't turn it around, then he's out the door. So my issue is that how do some of these African American coaches get an opportunity to take over jobs that they are set up to be successful at? I mean, you look at a guy like Mike Tomlin. The Pittsburgh Steelers historically don't make a lot of moves. I mean, how many head coaches have they had in the history of the franchise? 3, 4?
Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. So I mean, when you think about it in those terms, but when you look at an organization like the Cleveland Browns, come on, I mean, every 2 years it seems like they flip the script. So and if you're an African American coach and you get stuck with that job, you're not gonna say no. You're gonna say yeah because you want that opportunity. But in reality, you taking that job, you're almost set up to fail. You're set up not to be successful because they're not going to give you 3 to 5 years to flip that organization. They're not going to give you the time that's required for you to flip that organization and make it successful. Okay. That being said, I'm going to put my foot on the gas and drive forward. My producer's telling me to move on. Okay. So now we're in the virtual off-season era, if you will. Teams can't meet with their players. Players can't be at the organization. And primarily what you have happening going on is teams are virtually meeting with their players. So Doug Peterson came out today. He talked, during his virtual press. The team is just starting their 9-week process. All players have to participate. Half the time, they're going to spend with the strength and conditioning staff. All workouts have to be videotaped and submitted, back to so they can make sure that the players are doing what they're supposed to. And then the other half of the time, they're basically, with the coaches, on video. So they're going over the playbook, they're going over concepts, and then they're testing the players, to see, where they're moving along. Talk to me, guys, about, how this is going to affect not only the Philadelphia Eagles, but every other team and their ability, and more precisely, the young players, the first, second year guys that are coming in, and they're not going to have the ability, to have an OTA and all the things that are necessary for players to continue to improve. Jaws.
Well, Seth, obviously the coronavirus has changed the world we now live in. But I've seen this coming. I think all the now on your show right now saw this coming with the collective bargaining agreement going back to the last couple CBAs. Players no longer commit to the offseason in the home city of the team they play with. All go on their own wherever they want to go. I've always been a big believer that the offseason was critical for development with your teammates where you could actually go out and throw the ball around. And I could throw to a Mike Vick and find out his nuances and what he does well and what he doesn't in the offseason. Because once you get to training camp, you're really focused on the team stuff, not the individual stuff. So I felt the league was going in a bad direction anyway, with the CBA limiting offseason workouts, not spending time with your coaches, not spending time in your team city. I think the players overall have gotten incredibly better, but I don't think the game on the field has gotten better. It's changed an awful lot, but I don't think the game on the field has gotten better. The players have, because they're excellent athletic talent and a lot of their individual opportunity workouts where they're by themselves with their trainers, but I don't think it's helped build football teams under the new CBA and not being together. Football is the consummate team game played when players are together and learning how to play the game as a unit.
RT, your thoughts?
You know, I saw a report on the news last night, and I was just looking this up. It says no more than 50% of the staff and the 75 individuals will be allowed at the same day at the facility at any one time. Only players rehabbing from an injury or are undergoing medical treatment will be granted entry along with members of a team to strength conditioning with their staff. I thought I saw that where they were reopening the facilities. Now, I don't know if that's just here with the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. But it's ironic because I have a guy who trains here with me that used to be in Philadelphia. And Nelson Aguilar, he's attending church with me, and he's working out very hard. And I know that he's behind the scenes with Derek Carr and other guys. So these guys are working out, but to be able to get back in these facilities, watch Zoom videos and have these meetings and things, I think it's fine. But if you don't have some hammer strength or a squat rack, when it comes time, it's going to be a different league. Guys are going to be lighter. They may be quicker. They might have the good flexibility, but they're not used to the pounding. It's really crazy. But I really believe there is going to be a football season without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. $12 to $15 billion every single year.
Exactly. Come on.
Donovan,
well, first and foremost, I don't have a problem with the whole Zoom meeting as far as going over plays. I think that's important because the communication is so vital for quarterback coaches and head coaches to be in a conversation and a meeting with the actual quarterbacks and the players. So I think the meeting aspect of it is what it is, because you know how we have been in quarterback meetings, guys. We sit down, we take notes, we see film, and I'm sure the coaches will be submitting some type of video to send to a lot of these players. For instance, for Philadelphia, I'm sure Jalen Hurts has received DVDs or some type of, hear me saying DVDs and VHS, just stuff over the net, so that you know what I mean, so that he could see some of the offensive schemes and the way it's been run and things of that nature. But when you extend it to as far as conditioning and things like that are concerned, what I tried to do is I worked with my trainer to get faster, stronger, get better shape. And what I did was I invited guys out to Arizona. So I had guys fly out. I held them up in hotels out here, and we were able to train together for a week or two. And so I would feed them. Obviously, we would go out. We would spend time working out as far as the conditioning and strength is concerned. And then later in the evening, we would go out to throw routes. Something very similar to what we're seeing down in Tampa with Tom Brady now working with Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, Goodwin, as well as Evans. And that's something that quarterbacks do. We spend time with our guys, even that it's away from the facility, because it's an environment that we can be comfortable with. We're not kind of under the umbrella where we feel like we're being watched. So I think the timing of it all will be great for offensive schemes and things of that nature. Maybe defense will be a little behind this time going into camp because of what offenses can do. But I just think overall with the training and things of that nature, it's gotten better. Something Jaws talked about. These guys they're better athletes because they have personal trainers. So it's a lot different than what you're doing in the facility to the training staff, but I think there's a benefit throughout this whole deal.
Really? I'm one of those people that think that, in order for you to be good at football, you need to practice football. You got to do it. Right. And you're talking about the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. Obviously that's your wheelhouse. But those big guys in front of you, aren't, on the same page protection wise and all those types of things. It makes
they got to hit something.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible for you to do your job. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it's repetition as well. If you don't get those reps, and that's what I'm thinking that, you're always going to get the classroom piece of it. Michael, we got the classroom piece of it, but the rubber really met the road when you took the classroom piece of it out on the field and were able to apply it as a team. Not just, the wide receivers and the quarterback, but as a total team. Your thoughts, Michael? Is he frozen?
Yeah, he looked frozen because his mustache ain't moved.
Yeah.
Hey, Seth, I got to chime in since I got a break from Michael, and I see Randall there, and I can think back. Let's go probably back 35. I'm packing up already. Randall probably knows where I'm going with it. And I appreciate Randall saying that I was his mentor, and I love Randall, still do. But when he came to the team, he was just refreshing as hell. And we're in the film room, and Sid Gilman is, a Hall of Fame coach. And Randall does one of these phenomenal plays, Seth. And he breaks out the pocket, 4 guys miss. He jumps over 2 guys, runs out of bounds. And I'm expecting Randall to go, well, I read the coverage, coach, and I decided to Randall goes, hey, look at those fans. Look at the fans jumping up and down. Man, I got some work to do with this young man.
Yeah, that camaraderie, man. You gotta have that camaraderie.
Cracked up in the meeting room. That's the meetings were fun.
hey, Seth. Well, back then, I don't even think Sid Gilman knew my name. He called me Charlie. Hey, Charlie, you got to throw that ball on time there, kid.
Yeah. He called you Randy, and you said, it's Randall.
Wow.
But Seth, I understand what you're saying about defense and the repetition. And we got to understand, too, when I go into the training staff, as far as training is concerned, you got guys who specifically train offensive linemen that I know I think it's Charles Bentley. He has his own little deal where he has a bunch of offensive guards and tackles and center that come and train. And I just think this is the time where you really get a test of the leadership that you have on your football team. That's because for a true leader, you have to be able to galvanize the troops no matter what it may be. Yeah, we're in a tough time, but there's ways of getting to where you need to be destination-wise and being able to work in a comfortable environment where you're still safe and still being effective to kind of enhance your job, to be great at your craft. And so I know we're all looking at it from the glass half full kind of, so to speak, but you have to take into account, man, this is your job. So no matter when this thing kind of gets going, you got to be ready. And if you're not ready, you can't say, well, I wasn't here to work out with the team. No, it's on you to do what you need to do to make sure that you are ready when the whistle blows.
Seth, this is when the great coaches are going to step up too. Belichick's not going to have any issues. I'll tell you that right now. His guys are going to be ready to play. They're going to be ready to play because there's nobody special on the team. He gets that team going. He knows what he's doing. Gruden's another one. Gruden's going to do something out here in Las Vegas. He just is one of those guys he loves, and his passion for the sport he's going to figure out every nuance, and he's going to look under every rock to find out a way to get his guys prepared to play. And the teams that start off fast this year and finish off fast, as we know in November and December, are going to be the teams that really get it done. And Gruden is one of those types of coaches. And Donovan, what you're saying, the leadership quality, that's exactly right. When Ron ended up retiring, and it's like I'm sitting there, and it's like they hand me the keys to the team. It's like, it's really on now. It's one thing to ride his coattail and to learn all the great things I learned from Ron, but it's like, okay, Randall, you got to be the leader of this team now. And that's what these guys got to do. And some of these young teams like Cleveland and some of these teams that got younger guys, it's one thing to be the Patriots. It's one thing to have Brady coming down to your team and bringing Gronk down there. And here guys that are veterans, those young kids are going to eat that up. But what's the coaching staff we're going to do? That's the question.
Yeah.
Well, you make a good point. Listen, I played for Mike Shanahan and I played for Mike Holmgren. And those coaches, and Donovan probably can attest to this, those coaches out of that West Coast 49ers system, the one thing that they are is they don't do a lot of cattle prod. They don't do a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. There's a certain expectation level. There's not a whole bunch of rules. There's like, okay, this is the expected behavior of what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to do it. And listen, if you don't do it, we'll find somebody else to do it. I mean, that's the one thing that I took from those organizations. And that's the way the Belichick is. You know, they call it the Patriot way. You come in, you do things the way that we do them, or you get yourself out of here. That's pretty much how it is. But you're right. You know, this is a time for the coaches, you know, to step forward as leaders. It's a time for the leaders on the team to step forward and grab the young guys, you know, by the coattail and pull them along and try to figure out, okay, how do we navigate this difficult time? Because someone's going to be the 2020-21, you know, Super Bowl champion. Right now, everybody's in a position where, you know, they can claim that Lombardi trophy. The question is, who's going to do all the things that's necessary to be there holding it at the end of the day?
That's right. Seth, you're right. You know, we're all products of the coaches that coached us. And every one of us has fond memories of those guys that we looked up to and aspired to be. And I think of how I live my life now is basically reflective on the coaches that coached me, from a Don Shula, a Dick Vermeil, a Buddy Ryan, a Marty Schottenheimer, a Chuck Knox. Those coaches won close to 1,000 games as their coaching careers. I benefited from those guys. You know, I learned from being around these professionals that knew how to, and you said it, run a team. Because if you don't run a team the right way, you're gone. You're gone. It's that simple. You have to win. So I was fortunate enough to be around coaches that knew how to lead. And that's what it boils down to. You have to have strong leadership skills to be successful.
Well, you know
what? Go ahead. I mean, go ahead, Seth. No, I was just going to elaborate a little bit on what Ron was talking about, because now it's not so much of leaning on the shoulders of the head coaches as players, and us four, we can talk about this, because you don't rely on your coaches to do your job. You do your job. So now this is the test for the individual player to dig deep down into their soul and find out what type of player you are. What type of work ethic are you going to build? Are people going to follow you? What is your desire and determination? Like, when you look around at some of these kids nowadays, they just play football because they were athletic. They don't understand the game from a mental standpoint. And you don't last long for your athletic ability. And so now you have to build some type of drive where your patience is starting to get limited because you want to eat. Dogs got to eat. And that's what it's about. Like, I had a linebacker mentality. I always wanted to go out and dominate. And you can only do it in one position, at the quarterback position, but you have to make sure all the 10 other guys are on their P's and Q's to do their job. So my success was based off of what they were able to do. But if I was prepared, they had the comfort level knowing that he knows what he's doing, so I need to do my job. And so that's where the test comes in. When they get back to the facilities and get going, no matter if it's in July or August, when the season starts, there is no looking back and saying, well, maybe I should have ran a few more sprints, or I shouldn't have ate this, or I should have been on a diet. No, you better do it now, so it's second nature to you later.
Well, I tell you what, you know, as we transition, you know, Doug Peterson, you know, like I said, talked. And one of the things that struck me as odd, you know, it sounds like the Eagles have pretty much made the transition and are moving on, you know, from Jason Peters to
Dillard.
Andre Dillard. You know, so when you listen to some of the quotes, you know, he said, you know, we drafted him to be our left tackle. You know, even though we've been in contact with Jason Peters and we love to have him back, you know, this is the guy that we drafted, you know, to be the heir apparent at left tackle. He also said, you know, and this was somewhat of a head scratcher. You know, as much as I love Doug, sometimes, you know, some of his quotes, you know, kind of leave you wondering. He basically said, hey, he's taking control of that role. And I have a ton of confidence in him. Listen, you guys played the position of quarterback. You know, I used to like beating up quarterbacks. You know, and the most important position on the offensive line is left tackle. The thing that kind of leaves me a little perplexed is, you know, okay, you draft him to be that guy, and he's taking control of it. I don't know. I mean, he started 3 games at left tackle and started 1 game at right tackle last year, and he didn't fare well after those 4 games. I don't think he played anymore except in the sub package as, you know, as a tight end. So the question is, where is he proving it that he's taking control of it? You know, and what has he done that's shown you that you're confident that your oft injured quarterback, that you're going to trust this second-year player to watch his back? Now, I get it. It may be time because of what you spent draft capital-wise to move that guy in that position. But some of these assertions, you know, kind of leaves me wondering. And then one of the other quotes that I heard that, you know, the longer this thing goes, if it's delayed, then they may have to make the move to Jason Peters and bring him back because of what they haven't been able to get accomplished, you know, in the offseason with Andre Dillon. Jaws, your thoughts? Because my goodness, man, I watched Lawrence Taylor beat you up from the backside.
He beat Randall up too.
A lot.
So he got the pocket passer and the scrambler. So he got them both. But we all know. Hey, what Doug said is coach speak. Come on. What is he going to say? Hey, we drafted Jalen Hurts because we don't think Andre Dillard can protect Carson Wentz. No, he's not going to say that. You've got to give this guy all the confidence in the world. You know, I thought there was some improvement last year. Not enough where I could anoint him as, you know, for me, where I had a Stan Walters and, you know, Donovan had, you know, Trey Thomas and John Runyon. You know, I was fortunate to have 2 all-pro tackles. You come in the game, you feel really good about the guys you line up and play with most of the time. So from a coaching perspective, you know, you're not going to throw a guy under the bus in the offseason media and say he can't get the job done. You know, he did play 336 snaps last year, so he did get some experience. Of course, Peters played about 870 or something like that. So But Peters got all the work. But the thing is, Dillard's going to have to get on the field and show that no matter what Coach Peterson says, no matter what anyone says, you got to go on the field and you'll know real quick.
And I tell you this, okay, Jaws, I can remember, you know, the 79, 80, 81 season, you know, that you had and the guys that you had and the running game that you had. You know, Donovan, I remember that offensive line that you had. But when I pass this on to Randall, listen, you know, there was like a 5 or 6 year window where Randall, he was getting sacked 55 times a year on average. I mean, set the franchise record one year, 72 sacks. So I'm interested to hear Randall's take on all of this, because I literally stood on the sideline and watched this guy run for his life, you know, 3 quarters out of 4 quarters on almost every darn game that we play.
Yeah, Ron got sacked 70 times that year. I got sacked 72 times.
Oh my God.
I remember, all joking aside, I remember playing against the Seattle Seahawks. We flew out there. I got sacked 10 times or 11 times in that one game. Then we went to the Raiders and went into overtime. I got sacked another 9 or 10 times. I got sacked 20 times. I needed 2 left tackles, 2 guards on the left side, a center, a tight end on that side, you know, because that's just the way it was. But I understood, because we were building a defense, and defense wins championships. But I'll tell you what, as a quarterback, you have to have somebody on that left side. I know it's nice to have a running back bumping out. I remember one game, I don't mean to throw Herschel Walker under the bus, but we were playing against the Giants, and Herschel looked at the protection. He said, Randall, they trying to get you killed, man. They got me over there chipping off the edge. And I said, hold on, we're not sliding that way? He said, no, man, I can't block LT. He said, LT is going to run through me. And I started thinking about that, and it messed me up for the next game. Like, I was really thinking about LT the whole game. So you don't want your quarterback in the NFL worrying about who's on that left side. Yeah, you could throw a tight end over there. Yeah, you could put an H-back or chip off. but you need to slide and sometimes double check to that side and have your heart on the right side. So you gotta, I mean, yeah, Jalen Hurts is there for a reason. You know, we don't want our quarterback hurt. We need somebody there just in case.
Donovan.
Well, you know what? I'll add to that and to the makeup of the team now. I personally thought they were going to move Lane Johnson to backside and put Dillard to the front side. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have been known for. When Trey Thomas got hurt, we brought Winston Justice in. They were talking about moving Sean Andrews from right guard to tackle, which he played a couple games. But that's something that you left to look at. Now, as far as what Doug Peterson is talking about, Jaws is right. That's just coaches speak. That's coaches speak, because how can you let a guy go and then you have to show to the fans that we really need him back again? They have to have all the faith they have in their first-round draft pick. And also, to add to that, you got to understand, this is the hot seat for Howie Roseman. Because if they don't get to the playoffs or they don't do very well going further, and now the offensive line is in shambles, and then we're not getting the offensive production we expected, this might be Howie Roseman's last year in Philadelphia. So they have to figure out a way going forward to put Dillard at the tackle, maybe chip him or slide protection to him to help him. But also, you got to take into account that weak side tackle, or that backside tackle wasn't always the problem. There were other holes in the offensive line too at times. So I just think for what we've seen thus far in the decision-making due to this whole pandemic, they have to say that. But they're banking on Dillard to be that guy and not going back to Jason Peters.
Wow. I just, when I think about Carson Wentz and what's best for him, that just makes me shudder to think, that you're going to put a young guy. And you know what? Doug doesn't have the propensity, to make adjustments where you're willing to send out, 4 guys instead of 5 into a pattern. I've watched him, with Big V struggling at left tackle, continue to put 5 guys out into the route or go slide protection, even to him and send the back the other way. And I'm like, man, you got to put the tight end over there. Even though you want to get Ertz out into the route, you better put him over there and have him at least chip, at least help out. But I worry for Carson, when you really start to look at this, because even though, Jason Peters has been oft injured, in my opinion, I just think Andre Dillard needs another year to get stronger, to understand the pro game. He's definitely got the footwork and all of those things that need to go along with it. But, he needs to eat a little gunpowder. He needs to get a little mean in it. Because if you're going to play over there, protecting the quarterback's backside, you better be that guy that's not allowing anybody to come around that backside, and get to the, to the back of your quarterback's head.
Seth,
I
agree with you, but I think that that young man, he knows that. He knows he needs to step up. And if it's in his heart and he's got the right people around him, hopefully he comes out and turns out to be a Pro Bowler, because he knows what he has to do. Yeah. And we got to give him the benefit of the doubt and put a little faith in him. It looks like the coaching staff's putting faith in him. And maybe you got to throw some quicker passes, adjust the offense or whatever. But I think he's going to get the job done. I really do.
Well, I'm really just playing devil's advocate here, guys. I'm all for, giving guys an opportunity. But I mean, the show there'd be no justice on this show if we just, got on here and said, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, a 9-time Pro Bowl in the Hall of Fame.
He's got to learn how to protect himself.
Right.
Yeah. The play he gets hurt on by Clowney is a screen play. Yeah. It's dead. They read it.
Throw the ball away.
What would Tom Brady have done? Spike in the ground.
His feet.
Live to play another play. No, this is what happens when running quarterbacks, Donovan and Randall, are out there. You get hurt. you get hurt.
Wait a minute, Jaws. We ain't running quarterbacks.
No, I got hurt. I got hurt in the pocket both times. Both times, blown out knee and ankle.
You got to learn how to protect yourself, and I think that's where Carson.
Yeah, that's right.
You love the fact that he fights for every play, like Don, you did, and Randall, you did. But at the end of the day, those defensive guys are bigger, stronger, meanier, nastier. They're all like Seth. They want to puncture your lung. They want to bend your face. They want to put you in the hospital. So get on the ground and learn to fight the next play.
Before I pass it to Donovan, because I know he's got – listen, when he got hurt, when he tore his ACL and his LCL, I said to myself, this will be the litmus test for him. Because if he comes back and he realizes that, you can't succeed every single play, that the defense wins sometimes, and you got to know when to just throw it away and punt the ball and rely on your defense, to give you field position, to give you another possession. When you can do that, then you're going to be successful. But you're right. It's just inside of him to think that every play has got to work. And if it can't work, then he wants to take the whole offense and throw it on his shoulders and try to make it work with his legs. And he better learn, man, that you got to get down in this league sometimes. Sometimes you just got to throw it away and live to fight another play. Donovan.
I love his will. Carson has shown he can play this game, but as Jaworski talked about, he has to protect himself. But also in regards, you got to put him in better position as well. And you have to, as coach, you have to explain to him the positives and the negatives of this whole deal. Now, we were mobile quarterbacks, Randall and I, but we also learned how to play from the pocket. And when you learn how to play from
1,000 yards in my career, you know that.
Huh?
I had almost 1,000 yards rushing in my career.
I
just thought I'd throw that in there.
From defenders, Charles. You get
Jaws played about 25 years too, didn't he?
I know, right? but that's the whole thing is, I know we focus so much on our ability, but he has to learn how to play from the pocket and know when to get the ball out. The West Coast offense is about timing. It's about timing. Yeah, Randall got sacked 10 times a game. I got sacked 11 times on national TV with O.C. Urior. That wasn't any fun coming off of ACL. But he's battled real tough injuries. It hasn't been sprained ankles or shoulder injury. He had back injury. I think he may have had back surgery. He had an ACL. Then he had the concussion. Then he had it's just more and more stuff where you got to learn to play from the pocket and get the ball out and be able to just move the chains. And so my question early on in the season last year wasn't about the talent. It was more of the play calling. You had Jordan Howard in the backfield, who's your power back, who averaged probably about 3-4 yards a carry. Give him the ball. You had Zach Ertz just passed Jason Witten the year before in catches and yards, and all of a sudden you don't throw the ball to him in the first 8 games. So I just think they tried to get too cute and too pretty, and now they put so much pressure on Carson, and we glorified everything that he did, but we also magnify all the negative stuff that happened with him.
Yeah, that's a tough place to be in when you know you got a tough quarterback that keeps trying to prove himself to be tough. You definitely got to give him the right offense. And with the two quarterback system they had for the past, I don't know how many years, it was like there's one offense, there's another offense, and then, you got to adjust all these new players. They really need to sit down with him and figure out what he likes, which I'm sure they probably have done. But then you got to look at the players around you. And if you're dealing with offensive line issues and you're trying to figure out who your running back is going to be and how long the tight end is going to be able to play, and if he's getting his routes done, it's just like it's crazy to find out, how you can use this quarterback, and then he gets injured, So it's a lot in the coaching staff as well.
Yeah. Well, we're going to put our foot on the gas again. I got a couple of topics. I'm just going to throw them out. Let's be brief with them. Thoughts on Jalen Hurts with the 53rd pick? Jaws.
Yeah, I was surprised when I first heard the pick because most teams either draft for the best player available or need, and I didn't think this was either. But as I thought it through, I really like Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's a very talented guy. And, it'll take a little time. Carson's still the quarterback. But, Doug likes these gadgets. Actually, I think, in the first round is a gadget kind of player. Punt return guy, kick return guy, slot receiver, a lot of gadget kind of plays. And I think you'll see a package early, much like Buddy Ryan developed for Randall. Remember Randall? I did that tag team coming in on 3rd and 7 or more.
Yes.
Probably the dumbest thing ever done in the history of football, but it was Randall had fun with it,
Yeah, we did.
And we enjoyed that. We enjoyed the chemistry of it. But I think you're going to see a Jalen Hurts package. He's going to get some plays. That's what Doug likes. He likes.
But let me add to that, Jaws, because you mentioned how you guys dealt with it. But and I know as a starting quarterback, when Randall got in there and picked up a couple first downs or made some miraculous plays, the fans wanted more. And that's the problem throughout this whole deal when they're trying to create this whole package of gadgets. Because for one, Jalen Hurts isn't that type of quarterback. Jalen Hurts is, number one, a winner. Number two, he's evolved at the position of being in 3 different offenses and been very successful each year in those offenses. And then thirdly, if he's coming in to be your quarterback or you put him at the slot and you run a reverse pass to him and he throws a touchdown and gets 2 first downs in the game, and Carson struggles, the fans of Philadelphia, Seth, Jaws, and Randall, the fans of Philadelphia, they're going to want more of Jalen Hurts.
And Don, I agree with you 100%. Here was the difference between, with Randall and I. It was my 13th year.
Yes. Yes.
So I was willing to be his mentor, and I knew what was happening. Yeah. I was willing to assume the backup role. I knew the minute I had a rough day, boo, we want Randall. Randall go out there and do something ridiculous like he always did, and, I'd hear it even more. But I was okay with that because I knew I wasn't the guy anymore. I knew it was time to start moving on the twilight of my career. This is different. Carson Wentz, is in his 5th year. He's going to have to learn with that. And it's hard when you're young. You want to be the man.
Yeah.
And, the boo birds are on. You have a bad half. You have a bad quarter. All of a sudden, Hurts comes in, makes a couple plays. The media loves to stir the pot. We know that. That's half our job. So it's certainly this will test the psyche of Carson Wentz more than the ability of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a big Carson Wentz fan. I like his character. I like his community work. I like him as a player. I love him as a player. I love him as a leader as well. Jalen Hurts, I love him as a player. Here's a kid who played for Alabama, played for Oklahoma, did great on both teams. That's something that's abnormal in college. Mm-hmm. And so I understand why he got drafted. When you can leave a team and go to another team and do well like that at a major college level, you got to pat that kid on the back. I think that drafting him in the 2nd round, he could have gotten drafted higher, but drafting him in the 2nd round, remember, I was the 49th pick in the 2nd round, and I was the first quarterback picked. And I was able to do some things to get excited in Philadelphia. And I think this kid will do it. And I think that Coach Peterson is smart enough. I think Jeffrey Lurie is very wise, and he's going to maneuver these kids the right way. I mean, to think that Carson Wentz is only in his 5th year, to know that Mariota is out here with the Raiders, and these guys are young guys. It's like people are getting shifted all over the league. But I tell you one thing that I know about Philadelphia, they want excitement. And whether it's the Polish rifle or whether it was me back in the day or you, Donovan, they want excitement, and you got to give them what they want. They deserve it. They're going to come out and they're going to give you their all. Yeah, you're going to get booed, but the bottom line is they're going to pack that stadium. I remember I was there for the Giants game when I got to flip the coin. And at halftime, I was like, man, we are going to get beat. And I went back to my hotel. I had a flight. And the next thing you know, Carson Wentz brings the team back and we win the game. And I'm over at the hotel going crazy, And that's just Philadelphia. So whether it's Jalen kicking a little bit and getting a few plays or Carson pulling the game out at the end, it's like, man, it's just like that's just Philadelphia football.
And I get it, man.
You left early?
Yeah.
I keep talking about I keep talking about putting my foot on the gas, but I'm going to put my foot on the brakes here because Doug Peterson talked about in his press conference also that, Nate Sudfeld is going to be the backup in 2020. Now with his contract being the way that it is, it's highly likely after 2020 that he'll be able to shop himself and try to get out, get a job where he can actually play. That puts even more emphasis on the number 53 pick overall. That you got, you're not going to get any value. You're not going to get any return out of this 53rd pick this year if that's the case.
Well, it's funny you say that because Jaws brought up when they brought Randall in. Remember, they drafted Kevin Cobb in the 2nd round with me. Yeah. I think in my 7th year. So it's one in which as a quarterback you got to just kind of put your nose to the ground and just kind of grind your way out. and just focus on you, because there's no loyalty in this game. And so I had Vick. I brought Vick in, and then Vick showed them a couple wild plays here and there. And then I was in Washington on Easter and had Kevin Cobb and Vick battling for the position. So I just think, listen, it's one in which I don't understand why he said anything about Sudfeld, to be honest with you. Sudfeld he's irrelevant throughout this whole deal. But the backup will be Jalen Hurts. It will be Jalen Hurts, and it won't be as a gadget play as we kind of expect, because he's not Taysom Hill and he's not Lamar Jackson. So remember those two. So Lamar Jackson, who was a gadget guy, came in and he won 75% of the games that he played in. So got Joe Flacco out. And so Taysom Hill got Teddy Bridgewater out, who was 5-0 as a starter. And they gave him $21 million. So this path that they're trying to lead Jalen Hurts on, it's not looking good for Carson by any means.
Well, then you have to see. I was prepared to move on until you made that statement. Well,
Seth, we need to move on that one.
Yeah, I mean, let's move on. Wait a minute.
Leave Carson alone, man. Let Carson go and play.
How do you sign him to the deal that you just signed him to last year, and then turn around and do this? Because he's one injury away from us realizing exactly what you're saying, Donovan. He's one injury away from this being the Nick Foles against, Carson Wentz situation all over again. Why would you create that and then turn around and make him your franchise quarterback by guaranteeing over $60 million in the next 2 to 3 years?
Because he was your number 2 pick that you traded up for, Seth. He's the guy that was the MVP before the injury. So you have to solidify that pick by paying him to show he's the franchise guy. He's shown you enough when he's healthy, but the whole thing is just when he gets hurt. So remember, look at his contract after 2021.
I got that.
He gets all his money. He gets all his money up until the 2021 season. After 2021, there's nothing guaranteed. So he has to prove himself going forward for at least the next 2-3 years. And that's not me just talking negative about him, because this is probably going to hit Philadelphia and they're going to be like, Donovan's talking bad about Carson. Yeah, but the whole thing about it, you have to look at the facts throughout this whole process. It's not about Carson. It's about the process, because if you listen to Howie Roseman's speech, where he talked about he has loyalty to the organization to do his job. So if something happens, he has to have something he can fall back on in now Jalen Hurts to be able to carry the load like Nick did.
No, I listen. If Carson Wentz doesn't pan out for whatever reason, when he walks out of Philadelphia, Howie Roseman will be carrying his bags.
Hey, Randall,
Yes,
did you hear those numbers? Signing bonus, $66 million, $120 million.
You know what, Charles? I'm telling you, I remember my $150,000 I made that first year. These guys.
In 1981, I was the highest paid player in the NFL. Highest paid player in the whole NFL, $400,000. And man, I thought I had it made. I'm still working.
Hey, man, I was thinking about making a comeback, and then my knee started bothering me a couple minutes ago. I had to stretch my knee out. Those days are done for us.
Hey, Donovan got all the money, man, after we were gone.
Yes.
I'm out there.
You have it.
Hey, hit the gas, Seth. Hit the gas.
Hey, listen, as an 8th round draft pick, I ain't even gonna make y'all crack up and fall off y'all chairs.
Hey, we remember each other's salaries, right, Seth?
Absolutely, man. So I'm gonna step on the gas because that's what Donovan wants me to do. Let's talk about these upgrades at wide receiver. Okay, was the Rager over Jefferson move the proper move? And then when you look at what they got, Rager, the trade for Goodwin, Hightower, and Watkins, what does that mean for the future of the wide receiver position for the Philadelphia Eagles? I'm going to start with you this time, Randall.
Brother, I'm not up on it that much because I've been studying the Bible so much.
Oh, Randall, come on.
I ain't getting involved with that one. I got Nelson Aguilar out here going to church with me. I'm trying to work with this young man, keep his confidence high. And I want to give a shout out to Mark McMillan, who just
gave us a little shout out on the screen here. Used to play with us, Minnie Mac.
Oh yeah. So Donovan, he don't want to touch it. I know you're.
I ain't going there. Donovan, go get it, Donovan.
Come on, Don. Tell me what you think.
You know what? I questioned the pick because Mims was still on the board, which he's a bigger size receiver, can stretch the field and get downfield, which you already had Alshon Jeffrey. So now you're bringing in another guy with a big body to play on the outside. Desean Jackson's coming back off an injury. I didn't understand the Rager pick because are you bringing him in for punt return or are you bringing him in to play the slot? The Jefferson deal, to me, Jefferson is a slot receiver. He's not an outside receiver. I understood that. But when you have bigger receivers in the draft who can run the field and have been effective in college, I thought that would have been one. And then going forward, you look at just your competitors. You look at everybody in the NFC East. I mean, CeeDee Lamb gets grabbed up by the Dallas Cowboys. So now you're thinking our secondary still isn't filled with corners that can cover three good receivers. The Washington Redskins drafted 2 receivers. So I just thought there were holes that we could have filled at that particular point. Nothing against Rager because I think he's electrifying, but I just thought that Mims would have been a better pick.
That's a speed thing. You know that's about speed. It's about speed.
Yeah, but if you don't have anybody on the outside, Mims is still a 4-4 guy. He's still a 4-4 guy. I mean, and he can get up and get high balls or whatever it may be, especially when you got the 2 tight end set. We got 2 talented tight ends.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to double the tight ends and try because they know that Wentz is going to throw the tight ends. Now, the little guy's going to go up tight like a Randy Moss, and you're going to see these plays happening. And then they're going to say, okay, hold on a second. Because that's what happened with us. We had Andrew Glover, and then you got Chris Carter. You got Chris Carter in the slot. You got Randy on the outside, and then you got Glover can go down the hole. Next thing you know, Randy's going down the sideline and breaking a 2-deep zone with his speed. And so I think that's
Randy's also 6'4", Randall.
Yeah, and Randy Moss can probably jump about 40 inches. But I'm telling you, some of these young kids are just hungry. And when you give them a chance, they're going to make some things happen. I think he's going to work out to be a good pick.
Hey Randall, you mentioned Hall of Fame wide receivers. How the hell did you guys not win the Super Bowl that year?
Oh, why you got to go there?
Hey, bro, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Oh man!
Hey, I gotta take a shot at my guy.
Yeah.
Let me try. First of all, Jaws, I knew he wouldn't be able to resist talking about some he didn't want to touch that one. That's the first. The second thing is I want to thank them for not making it to the Super Bowl. I was with the Denver Broncos and we beat the Falcons that year to win the Super Bowl. Man, I'm looking at them. I'm like, nobody's beating them. Nobody.
I didn't think anybody was going to beat Baltimore this year. No. With that young buck over there, Lamar, I'm like, hold on, who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop the running back? And it's like, man, it's just like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna move over to locker room roundtable, past, present, future. Talk to me about the quarterback position. You guys are the past, you know, the future state of the quarterback position. Give me your opinion about what you see.
Yeah, since I'm the most experienced in this group, you know, when I started playing football in 1973 in the NFL, the same 11 guys on offense stayed on the field for an entire series of plays.
Yeah.
Same 11 guys on defense stayed on the field for the entire series.
Yeah.
The game is now so complex and sophisticated, it has become very difficult for the quarterback to play. It really has. And I think today's players are phenomenal. What they have to digest from not only a schematic, what they do offensively, but what defenses do. I have incredible respect for today's quarterbacks and what they have to do. And the way the game has now evolved to 3, 4, and even 5 wide receivers on the field right now. I think it is as much pressure as there was, say, when I came in the league in the 70s. There is so much pressure on the quarterback now to perform, to win, or you move on. It's a tough position to play.
Randall.
You know what? I'm looking at quarterback duos in the league, and we've talked about Wentz, we've talked about Hurts, but I'm sitting here in Vegas and I'm looking at the young Carr kid, and then you got Marcus Mariota on the same team, and it's like, oh my God! I mean, it's like the duos. There's some things happening in the league right now where I don't know if they trust the quarterbacks, if it's a pressure thing, but I agree with Jaws. It's like you're there, and if you don't have the right offense that fits you, and the coordinator doesn't know what he's doing, then it's really going to mess up a kid's career. And here with Gruden knows what he's doing, and he's got two quarterbacks here. It's going to be I don't know if there's going to be a controversy going on here, but you got two great quarterbacks on the same team out here, and so it's going to be something to see.
Don.
I think the stage of the quarterback position right now it's so wide open now. It's almost to the fact where it's close to arena football. To be honest with you, I mean, there's no downhill running game. Everything is kind of sideline to sideline. Everybody's running these wildcat type of offenses, and then now you got guys like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, who are the dinosaurs of the league, but still playing at a high level that no one really wants to talk about. And so I think the problem with the game today is about the wow effect. Yeah, they see Lamar run for 1,000 yards. We've seen that with Vick. Randall had his moments. But the whole thing about it is when it comes down to playoff time, you got to be able to establish the move the sticks. If it's running the football, if it's being able to complete on third down, you have to be effective in that way. Now, the defensive schemes are pretty much the same as they were back then. The players are a lot more talented. But from what I've seen from a lot of the players of the quarterback position now, I'm excited because you got guys like Patrick Mahomes, you got Deshaun Watson, you got Lamar Jackson. We talk Aaron Rodgers and the old guys, but I'm excited to see where this game goes with those guys. Well, look who showed up.
Look who just
who's back? Oh, he's gone. He's gone, Don.
I made it back.
Oh yeah. He's moving so fast. You still in the
technical
car?
difficulty, man. I don't know what's going on over here.
All right, so I'm gonna throw this question to you, Mike. We close to wrapping up, so I'm gonna throw this question to you. Past, present, future. What do you see in the future of the NFL quarterback?
I see the position continuing to grow in all facets. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have guys almost on every team that look like, what you seen last year, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson type, similar to what Donovan and myself did, and Randall and Jaws from time to time,
Jaws hit it up in there and get you a good 15.
I seen you scramble a couple times. I know you.
I'm trying to figure out the yards per carry.
Excited about the position. It's going down.
You gotta dig out my run.
He's a hot mess with his phone on the road.
He on that cricket.
Just thankful to have the opportunity to be put in front of
brick phone
in front of those guys and just enjoy it.
They killing you, Mike.
It's the 2G Wi-Fi. The 2G Wi-Fi.
I'm gonna try to give you one more softball, Mike, before you bow out again. We had a long conversation about Jalen Hurts being picked at number 53. Everybody had an opinion about it. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
I thought it was a good pick. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, good. I thought it was a good pick. Every quarterback, starting quarterback, needs somebody behind him that's going to push him. And throughout my years, I always had guys pushing me, Matt Schaub and Kevin Cobb and Nick Foles. It makes you a better quarterback. It puts the pressure on you that everyone can't feel out there. And us being former quarterbacks, we know what it's like. So I think it's a good fit for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Carson Wentz is the guy. He'll continue to be the guy, and I think the upside is tremendous for him. But they have a quality backup in Jalen Hurts who can continue to learn and not have the pressure of having to go out and play right now. And at the right time when the Philadelphia Eagles need him, he'll be there for him. So I was excited about the pick. I mean, I didn't think it would happen that early, but it happened for a reason.
All right, as we continue to wind down, I'm going to ask you guys one question. Just give me a quick answer, all right? Fondest memory as a Philadelphia Eagle. Jaws.
In the playoffs.
Want me to lead it off?
Yes.
Clearly beating the Dallas Cowboys to the NFC Championship game in 1980. And by the way, Seth, there was just some breaking news on ESPN. My rushing yards. Career rushing yards. 909 yards and 17 touchdowns. Randall and Donovan. I sort of throw that in.
In how many years, Charles?
I'm trying to do the math right quick because you're talking about 16 years, 997 yards, and 17 touchdowns.
Oh. Oh God.
There you
go. That's sweet, Jaws.
All right, Steve, what's your most memorable experience being a Bird, man?
You know, there's so many, but I just had to say it's the team event when we went down to New Orleans, and we played them in the playoffs, and it was kind of like either get it done or none of us were going to have jobs. And Calvin and Freddie went off in the second half, catching bombs and putting their body on the line.
Screwing us up again?
And it was just really amazing to see Freddie and Calvin and how we came together. We couldn't hear anything in that dome. Bobby Hebert was doing his things. The linebackers on their team, you know, they had Mills and Ricky Jackson, all those guys swilling, and they were just getting it done. And the next thing you know, our team just came together as a unit. And the defense played and the offense played. And the next thing you know, we came out of there with a victory. And we weren't even favored to win. And that was like a turnaround for all of us because I think that was a pivotal point of what we were going to do. We were going to win or we were going to just continue as losing playoffs all the time, which finally the players came up and won the game. And I think we came together.
Donovan, now you guys really kind of flipped the script. Unprecedented. 5 NFC championships, a trip to, the Super Bowl in 2008, 11 years playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm hard to pick, but what would be your most memorable moment as a Philadelphia Eagle?
Well, let me start by saying I apologize, Mike, because I'm about to bring it up, but it was us beating Atlanta in the NFC Championship to finally get over that hump to make it to the Super Bowl. And Jaws, we kind of know how it feels when it seems like that pressure is just on your shoulders each and every year of making it to that point and not being able to get over that hump. And I thought we really became a true unit for everything that we have been through to get over that hump. It wasn't about any stars. It was about guys doing what they needed to do. We were able to secure the win. And in securing the win, you can feel the energy of the fans. Like the whole city changed once we got over that hump. It felt like you walked down the street and you felt like you were somebody's uncle, cousin, brother, because they felt like they needed to give you a hug and say thank you. And so for 11 seasons, man, it was just 5 NFC championships and the second round playoff games and, just things of that nature that was successful. But to get over that hump is what really, really I will always remember of just the appreciation for our football team.
Since Michael just dropped off, I'm gonna move on to the next. Jaws, your favorite target, and it's tough. I know. Harold Carmichael, Mike Quick, favorite target and why?
Yeah, I don't think there was ever one. I think there was so many guys I was fortunate to throw to, even and you could include running backs in that group. But sometimes when I think of players, I'm sure all the guys think of this. The further we get removed,
I gave it one more shot.
Michael's back. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit.
I'm so mad.
Hey, Randall, he like Houdini over here.
Hey, Jaws, hold on 1 minute while I got him. Michael.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Go, Seth.
You have the shortest stint in Philadelphia. The question was, okay, what was your most memorable experience as a Philadelphia Eagle?
I would say, man, I got to go with the Miracle in the Meadowlands, man, because it was a game that we never thought we would win. Being down, whatever we was down, a whole bunch of points, we was able to come back and win the game. We gave up in the third quarter. Not really gave up, but was looking forward to the next week. And I know that's something you're not supposed to do in the National Football League. But to be able to come back and win that game was part of the reason that I came to play for Philadelphia, and to be able to win with my teammates made it even more special.
While I got you, I'm gonna keep you rolling, okay? Favorite target, and why?
My favorite target, I'm pretty sure Donovan could attest to this, he had a couple of them, but mine was Desean Jackson. I was very thankful to have a guy like him because I never had a number one receiver, and he was just a speed burner. I see why Andy drafted him. I see why Donovan had success with him, and I was able to do the same thing.
And lastly, okay, if you could build your top three, top wide receiver, top running back, top tight end to play with you, any game, who would they be? Past, present, whatever.
You talking anybody?
Anybody.
Anybody, okay. A receiver, Randy Moss. At running back, I got to go with Barry Sanders. And then I'll line up behind the center.
Tight end.
Tight end, Tony Gonzalez.
Cool. All right. So now if you drop off again, don't even worry about it. All right, Jaws. Jaws, you up. Favorite target and why?
Yeah, Seth, I was talking about, I was fortunate to have guys like a Hall of Famer now, Harold Carmichael and Mike Quick. But when I think of my teammates, I think of them all. And I said, the older I get, the further removed from the game, the better memories I have of my teammates. And those are the memories that really lasted. Games, big plays, we all shared a lot of those. But I think, when I see Don, I see Michael, I see you, Seth, golf outings, different things. Those are the things I really cherish now. The friendships, the relationships, and those that we've developed through the years. To me, that's what's most important.
Awesome. Leave it to Jaws to be politically correct. Let's go, RT.
I got to play with some great guys. Mike Quick was no joke. I remember in practice one day, he caught a ball with one hand. I threw it as hard as I could. He snatched it with one hand and kept on going. We were in the bubble. I don't know if you remember that, Seth, but I was man, Jaws, you remember it. I was man, that dude's amazing. But to play with a guy like Chris Carter too, and have both of them on the same team, and then you throw Randy in there. It was great having Glover, Jimmy Giles, Keith Jack. I can't even tell you the talent that I was able to play with all of my career. I just like to go and just hang out and have a reunion, just to kick it with everybody because these dudes were so amazing. Of course, many people would say Randy Moss because of his speed. I would say Quick because he groomed me as a person. But then I'd have to say Chris Carter because, man, that dude he was just hardcore, man. If the game was on the line, give me the ball. And then, running backs, I loved Robert Smith, but Big Keith Byers was my boy. So, I'll be all over the place. So that's not really a fair question because I don't want to show favoritism for one guy because so many of them played different roles in my life and helped my career along. But there's some great players out there.
I'll tell you what, man, you quarterbacks are pretty darn diplomatic. Donovan, come on, man.
Don's going to do the same thing.
By the way,
again. I'm just going to fall right in place because if I mention one name, he's probably going to come out on social media and try. But you know what, man? I'm with Jaws. To be honest with you, even though the names and Michael brought up Desean Jackson, I only had a few years with Desean while he was young coming in. So the explosive plays that we had in that kind of tight window that myself got and Brian Westbrook got a chance to play with Desean. Desean was dynamic. Now we know obviously T.O. and everybody's waiting on me to say something about T.O. and I'm not. So everyone else like the Chad Lewises, the L.J. Smiths, Jeff Tomlinson, the James Thrash and Todd Pinkston, Freddie, everybody did what they needed to do. So I didn't have those Hall of Famers out there, but just one. But we may do with what we had.
Well, I'll say this, Donovan. Anytime that you're ready for a mediator, I'm available. Listen, man, life is too short. Listen, I'm just being serious. I mean, listen, I know.
No.
We all know how difficult it is to be on a team and have 53 guys and everybody like each other and everybody get along. But, anytime you're ready for a mediator, man, I'm willing to sit down with you and T.O. and work through this, man, because, listen, both of y'all were phenomenal players, man.
Legends.
There's no doubt.
Legends.
Both of y'all are Hall of Fame players, man. At some point in time, man, let's just let bygones be bygones and, be boys and move on. I don't know all the ins and outs and all the dynamics that happen, man. But, I would love to see, you guys be able to put it aside and move on. And I'm going to just leave it right there. When you're ready, I'm here, brother. You know where to find me.
That's
right?
Good stuff, Seth. That's good stuff, man.
No doubt about it. Hey, listen, man. This has not only been a joy and a pleasure for the city of Philadelphia, but it's been a joy and a pleasure for me being able to be with two guys that I played with and two young guys that I watched grow up, in the game and do phenomenal things, for the city that I love. And I know, listen, there's a whole lot of fans that had a whole lot of questions, and I said from the beginning, I just want to keep it organic, and that's what we did. I hope that the fans out there enjoyed it. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and had a great time. And I know how precious your time is. Mike, you know what, man, dropping in and out. I appreciate you. Keep coming back, man. I really do. I really do. Because a lot of guys
I wanted to conversate with you guys, man. It's very rare that we can all get together, and I think this was a special time. And good to see you, Jaws. You, Randall, Donovan, hit me up, man, so we can laugh sometime, bro. Hit me up.
Always, you know it.
And listen, we got to get down. We got to get Donovan out on the golf course. I don't know if you're still playing, RC, still hitting that 2-iron, but we need to get Donovan out. He's the only guy on here that don't play golf. Figure that.
Oh my goodness! I messed my shoulder up yesterday trying to hit my driver, man.
I quit at
the 17th.
That's why I'm not out there.
Seth, I quit at the 17th hole. My toes were hurting. I had to switch shoes and everything.
But listen,
Seth, I mentioned Randall in golf as well, the old Eagles Nest Country Club.
Come on, man. Yes. I heard you sold it, Ron.
Yeah, I got 7 other ones now, Randall.
Oh, okay.
Big time.
Thanks for allowing me to be in the partnership.
I tell you what, this is an hour show. We're at 1 hour and 37 minutes. That's you just don't get that. Anywhere.
I know it's taking my time away.
Yeah, most of the time, guys are like, hey, man, I got to go. I'm out of here, man. But I appreciate you guys being a part of my show today. You guys are welcome here. Anytime you want to come back and talk, we can do this again. And Philadelphia will love it all over again.
Yeah, take some questions. Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Seth, I owe you one.
Absolutely. But I appreciate you guys. Philadelphia appreciates you guys. And thank you for your time. I know it's valuable. It's the most valuable commodity that we all have. As we go, I want to thank my producer and my director behind the scenes, Tom Schrader and Derek Stevenson. Tune in next week. We've got another great show for you coming up next week. You have been watching the Seth Joyner Show. We like to have you guys. We love having you guys on. Peace, Philip. We love you. See you next week.
Thank you.
God bless you, brother. Love you.